listening to Lagoon Radio.
It's a beautiful morning to you, and you're welcome to Newspaper Review at Lagoon Radio. We're broadcasting live to you from Marina, Lagos, and the time is 25 minutes to 10 a.m. Nigerian time. And of course, don't forget to download the app on your Google Play Store and also your iOS. And you can also visit our website on www.Lagoonradio.Ng, and for more news update you can take a tour to Lagoon.news. Then our social media handles: Facebook Lagoon Radio Nigeria, Instagram and Twitter at LagoonRadio.Ng, and our TV channel on YouTube, Lagoon TV. You can subscribe and turn on your notifications, and because in case you need to put a face to the voices you hear in the studio, you're actually going to get that on Lagoon TV. My name is Simidele Oke, and I have with me here Alao Koinsola, who will be trashing the newspaper review today, or should I say trash? Or we'll be talking about. We'll be taking the newspaper review today. Fasten your seatbelt and don't go anywhere. I'll be starting with the national economic papers, and right at the front page, we have poor ports infrastructures, others undermine Nigeria's non-oil exports. You can get part of the story at the front page of the national economy, and the continuation on page 4 of the national economic paper. And right at the top, Nigeria, Serbia partner on economic development. You can get that on page 4 as well, the continuation on page 4 of the national economy. There's a short story at the front page talking about Nigeria and Serbia, who have been partnering to boost various sectors of both countries' socio-economic lives. So you can just get the full details on page 4 of the national economy. Marketing expert as Burger Paints PLC. That's the leader to watch. And we have Dominic Oladiji as the leader to watch. So you can get the full details on the page, on the front page of the national economy. Why Nigeria should subscribe to WFP Zero Hunger Initiative. I think we've been battling with this issue of the hunger, the stomach infrastructure and all that. I think, do we have a minister for stomach infrastructure? Okay. Do we have? We don't have. Okay. I think let me just be the first minister for stomach infrastructure. Yeah, I'm campaigning. So you can get the full details on page 5 of the national economy. Sea piracy. This is talking about sea piracy as Bayelsa imposes dusk to dawn curfew on waterways. You can get that on page 4 of the national economy.
Okay, moving on to the New Telegraph newspaper. Good morning, Lagos, Nigeria. Moving on to the New Telegraph newspaper, and boldly written on the front page of the paper says Anambra gubernatorial elections, candidates move campaigns to Lagos. And right down that says, as National Peace Committee sues for peaceful poll, contenders to sign peace accord November 4th, 2021. More news on this can be found on page 2 of the New Telegraph newspaper. But then, if they're going to move gubernatorial elections all the way from Anambra to Lagos State, they want to crowd Lagos State.
No, maybe they want people from Lagos to the citizens of Anambra or the indigents. They want them to be aware of the campaign so that they could travel back home for the election. I think that's
And the top part of the paper says federal government earmarks 3.3 billion naira for Nigerian communications SAT2, and it says constitutes major satellite project next year to spend 498 million naira on ground station upgrade. You can read up more on this on page 5 of the New Telegraph newspaper, and still says NBS Nigerians spent 54 trillion naira on household consumptions in 6 months. You can read up more on page 5 of the New Telegraph newspaper. All this money that we are calling, there's no wow. And we can also find Obasanjo, Nigeria will overcome socio-political challenges. Ex-governor should stop fighting successors, says Musk. Page 5 of the New Telegraph. And we can also find soldiers kill over 50 bandits in Kaduna. 54 people, not 30 killed in Sokoto terror attack. You can find it on page 3 and 6 of the New Telegraph. Buhari Kalu commend Gowon for advocating peace and unity at 87. Great. You can find and read more on this on page 4 and 2 of the New Telegraph. Why this? Why they have a continuation of news stories on pages? End convention PDP aspirants in last minute rush to beat deadline. Page 4 of the New Telegraph. And still today commemorating the NSAS, which went down this time last year. It says NSAS police victims relieve horror 1 year after. And the writer on that says, or your wives of murdered policemen still awaiting corpses of loved ones. Lagos, how many stations got burnt in a mystery? It's a mystery, police officer says. Ogun State protesters remove the cap of our DPO. You can read up more on these on page 14, 15, and 16 of the New Telegraph. And finally, beneath the paper, it says, we will need global coalition to defeat terrorism. And we can find a picture of Osibajo to US delegates taking a selfie. Selfie look cool. But then finally, breathing could stop TB bacteria, scientists says. You can read up more if you care to know more about this on page 8 of the New Telegraph newspaper.
All right, moving on to the leadership. Boldly written, despite 197 varsities, admission crisis persists in Nigeria. And right under that says only 500,000 candidates gain admission yearly. 3 million miss out in 3 years. Expand facilities, ASU tells federal government. And also states and government opts for more varsities. More varsities look like it's more it's more universities
I mean they should upgrade the ones they have currently.
Exactly, because
facilities, structure. Oh my gosh.
To me, instead of
paying tuition fee actually.
Exactly. To me, instead of having more of this, why don't you just make do with the ones you have? Maintain it properly, make it habitable, upgrade it, make it a world class standard. So instead of having more, it's just like you saying, okay, you're a councillor in a local government. You say, okay, for you to make life easier for the people of the community, you constructed a pit toilet, a latrine, and you say, okay, the next thing for you to do is to do more pit latrine. It doesn't make sense. So you need to upgrade. You need to be up to date. To me, I don't support this to opt for more universities. For what reason? For what reason? Maintain the ones we have. Make it conducive enough for learning. It doesn't make sense for students to be standing up during lecture for an hour lecture, another 30 minutes lecture. How do you want them to assimilate? How do you want them to understand? So to me, opting for more varsities is a no-no for me. Upgrade the ones we have. Make them conducive, make them comfortable for students, because students are paying for this. And before you say, Jack, next session, school fees have increased. So then we move on. You can get the full details on page 4 of the leadership papers. And right at the top, we have customers grown as 12 banks earn 120.5 billion naira from electronic charges. I think, yeah, because okay, take for example, you want to make a transaction. Maybe you want to make a transfer from First Bank to Access Bank. You are being charged a particular amount for a particular amount you want to transfer. Even if you're transferring from your bank to another account in your bank, there will be charges. They even greet you happy birthday. There will be charges. Okay. You can get that on. You can get a full gist on page 4 of the leadership papers, okay? LG Autonomy, 13 Niger councils can't pay salary. You can get that on page 6 of the leadership papers. As government kill 5 Imo traditional rulers, abduct others on page 6 of the leadership papers. Cattle rearers lament implementation of open grazing law. Wow. You can get that on page 8 of the leadership papers. Airpeace floods federal government's directive delays passengers for hours. That's on page 19 of the leadership papers. National Convention, Cold War in APC over zoning. That's on page 7 of the leadership papers. And right on page 6 of the leadership papers, security forces kill 74 terrorists in Borno and Kaduna. That'll be all on the leadership paper.
So moving on to what do we have on this? Okay,
I think we have the blueprint.
Blueprint.
Yeah.
And the major headline here says concerning insecurity says gunmen storms peace meeting and kill 2 Imo monarchs. The red under that says troops neutralize 50 bandits in Kaduna, 8 terrorists in northeast. You can read up more on page 6 of the Blueprint newspaper. And on the top part of the paper it says again OPEC plus misses target members struggle to raise oil output. Read up on page 22 of the Blueprint newspaper. Hugh El Malud, Northern governors preach interreligious harmony. Yes, it was an opportunity for clerics to preach the religious harmony during this festive period that went down yesterday. And the right down at that stage, clerics want federal government to tackle unemployment. PDP seeks national rebirth. And also Buhari backing transparency with actions. APC group says, I hope this comes to pass. We can also see that 136 countries agreed to abolish tax havens. You can read up more on page 22 of the Blueprint newspaper. And about 30 million may suffer cancer infection globally by 2030. And I'm like, okay, this is very true.
Wow.
The prediction is so like how?
Yeah, to me, the prediction is actually, let me rate it on a 50-50 because you are what you take. Okay, looking at everything we consume, it's not safe. It's not safe at all. It's not safe. So that's the way it is. It is what it is. It is what it is.
And beneath the papers, it says NSAS Memorial Lagos reconciles with the youth. I hope this reconciliation it's
genuine.
This reconciliation last one. And you can find 2023 Igbo elders reply. Dr. C and says Indigbo not desperate. You can read up more on page 5 of the Blueprint newspaper. Apologist of power shifts to South myopic. PDP chieftain says on page 9 of the Blueprint newspaper. Court clashes claim for in Akwa Ibom communities. So we still have this deep courts involvement in all of these countries. And finally, it says police detain 61 years old cleric for impregnating 16-year-old. Wow,
wow.
Okay, it is well.
It's a wow something. Moving on to Nigerian Tribune. NSAS anniversary, police on alert, warn against street protesters, says legitimate means to avert street protesters will be used. Protesters plan memorial car procession for fallen heroes as Lagos lawyers still reeling from protest after effect. NBA can get that on page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune, and right at the top, special report. Federal government loses revenue. Importers grown as $3.1 billion e-custom project suffers setback. You can get the full story on page 8 of the Nigerian Tribune. And on page 29 of the Nigerian Tribune, gunmen killed 2 during invasion of traditional rulers meeting in Imo. That I don't understand, because you ordered a seat at home and still those people are holding their peaceful meeting in their home and you still went to meet them to kill them. So-called gunmen. Like, I don't understand. So is it that outside is not safe and inside is not safe as well? So that's what it means actually. God will help us, God will save us, God will protect us, God will guide us. Okay, moving on to page 28 of the National Tribune. Bandits killed 43 in Sokoto market attack, Tambuwal. That's according to Tambuwal in the Nigerian Tribune, not immediately. Okay, political elite deliberately creating fault lines with ethnic, religious, communal identities, says Jega. Can get that on page 8 of the Nigerian Tribune. As 15 rescued, 1 killed as 2-story building collapses in Ikorodu. Can get a full story on page 28 of the Nigerian Tribune. And NSAS, we listen and respond, and that's from the table, from the desk of the governor, the executive governor of Ekiti State, my dear state, His Excellency Dr. Kayode Fayemi. You can get that on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. All right, let's move on.
And wow, I'm still very. And finally, on the This Day newspaper for today, and boldly written is still answers. Sanwo-Olu brokers truce with youths, promises not to give up belief in them. Thor. And the right under that says Delta to pay over 10 million naira compensation to victims. Amnesty International wages Buhari to fulfill promises of police reform. So that means they're still likely tendered for police reform. We'll be praying for it. And it says again on page 8 of the 6 of the This Day newspaper, Fidelity Bank says to issue $500 million unsecured notes.
Wow.
Buhari rejoices with General Yakubu Gowon at 87 and says he's a visionary leader. And I pray that, our dear president learns from me. So they pay all of them, not the same thing. And boldly written on as the front headline of the paper, military deploys helicopter gunships against bandits in Kaduna and decimates 50. The right under that says held Rufai to troops. Let us sustain momentum. Says more bandits must be brought to better end. You can find up and read up on page. Is there a page here? Yeah. But it's boldly written on the paper, so you can read up more. A friend very welcomes Tinubu back home. Okay. Turkish President Erdogan begins 2 days visit to Nigeria. Page 5 of the This Day newspaper, and I'm sure that will cost a lot because there will be bill for this, welcome of him, all the expenses of today. It is well. I just pray we all survive in Nigeria. That's the basic thing. We all survive in Nigeria. And still scanning out for more newspaper. We have editorial news concerning the protest 1 year after. You can read up more on that. How to deal with hate speech. You can read up more on that from all of these papers that we have discussed, and basically from the This Day newspaper. That is where you can find this editorial content.
Yeah, we also have Daily Trust. We also have Daily Trust papers as well. All right, that'll be all on newspaper review here on Lagoon Radio. Don't forget to download our app using your iPhones or your Android devices. Any of your Play stores, just search Lagoon Radio and download. And you can visit our website on www.LagoonRadio.Ng, and we have our social media handles: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Facebook Lagoon Radio Nigeria, Instagram and Twitter Lagoon Radio NG, and YouTube LagoonTV. And for more news updates, Lagoon.News. And right after now, by 10 a.m., we'll be having the Moment of Truth. Stay connected to Lagoon Radio. My name is Simidi Oloke. Do have a nice day.
Good morning.
You are listening to Lagoon Radio.